Studies Section 2, Social Contract Theory Philosophers. Introduction. Social contract theory, virtually as old as philosophy itself, is the opinion that persons' moral or political obligations are reliant upon a contract or agreement among them to form the society in which they live. Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau are the best identified advocates of this enormously significant theory, which has been regarded as one of the most dominant theories within moral and political theory during the course of the history of the modern West. In this study section, you will learn about the concept of social contract theory and social contract theory philosophers. Learning outcomes for study section 2. After you have studied this study section, you should be able to examine the concept of social contract theory, discuss the social contract theory philosophers. Concept of social contract. The idea of social contract theory is grounded on the fact that the citizens and the government must have a sort of agreement that binds both together. Moreover, the idea of social contract theory is that there is an obligation on the part of government as well as the citizens to do certain things or provide certain things, and the citizens are under certain obligations to obey political authority. It confers a sort of legitimacy on the government. Furthermore, the idea of social contract theory is an important element in any governance. The idea was started in the ancient period through what Socrates termed a binding obligation on the part of the citizens to obey the state, because there is a pact between the state and the citizens, since the state provides the basic needs of the citizens. It is also well discussed and articulated in the medieval period and down to the modern age. It was discussed and worked out fully by the trio of Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. It has also been discussed in contemporary social and political philosophy by important political philosophers like John Rawls, Robert Nozick, and some other political philosophers. The idea of social contract in modern philosophy was first introduced by Hobbes in his book entitled Leviathan. Dash theory is grounded on the basis that citizens and the government must have an agreement that connects both together. A. Plato. B. Socrates. C. Contract. D. Richard. C. Contract. Social contract theory philosophers. Modern social contract theory is properly related with contemporary moral and political theory. However, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau are the best well-known proponents of this prominent theory. Thomas Hobbes. In the book, Thomas Hobbes claims that human beings were first of all living in what he calls the state of nature. The state of nature was a state in which individuals behave as they like because there was no law which regulates their behaviors. In that state of nature, there were laws of nature, but the laws of nature revolved around preservation of individuals' life. The individuals were egoistic because the most important thing was simply to promote one's own interest at the detriment of other people's interest. He claims that in this state of nature, there was not any regulative authority to enforce any form of law. Hence, the weaker could even conquer the stronger, or the stronger could pounce on the weak. In this state of nature, there was chaos or anarchy because anarchy reigns. Hence, according to Hobbes, life was short, brutish, and nasty. There was no industry, no culture, and no civilization because nothing could have worked in this scenario. Hence, there was not any kind of cooperative venture because of the egoistic nature of the individuals that prevails in the state of nature. Thomas Hobbes gave a scary picture of the state of nature. People then realized that life in that scenario was a precarious, insecure, and perilous. Because of this scenario, people realize through reason that that kind of life characterized by insecurity should be stopped, and hence they come together to deliberate on the way forward. In this deliberation, they will realize that it is better to have a state that is secured where life could flourish in a peaceful way. Hence, they could come together and deliberate to surrender to a sovereign authority, and this sovereign authority will have power over all individuals. The individuals would have surrendered their right because they believe to have a secured and well-ordered state than a state of nature. They don't have the right to rebel against the sovereign authority that is called Leviathan, because a peaceful state is better than an anarchical state. In the end, the Leviathan is an all-powerful authoritarian sovereign entity that has authority over anybody's life. John Locke. He follows the tradition of Hobbes in enunciating the state of nature. He has followed Thomas Hobbes in some ways, but he deviated from Thomas Hobbes in the sense that he does not present the state of nature in the form of egoistic nature of human beings like you have in Hobbes. He believes that by nature human beings are good-natured because they could help each other. However, the nature of state has been structured in a way that there are some laws of nature which makes it impossible for a kind of joint enterprise by all individuals in a state of nature. The laws of state of nature have made it impossible for the individuals to promote interests of all. Hence, the individuals have to behave to preserve their own particular interest, preserve their lives, and also promote their own selfish interest. However, at a particular time, the state of nature will become so dangerous that human beings will come to realize through rational means that they should have a state that could promote the interests of all. Hence, they will come together to deliberate on how to evolve from that state of nature to a well-ordered society where there are rules enforced by a regulative authority. The sovereign state evolves, according to John Locke, as a result of a path. The argument is unlike that of Hobbes because the agreement is not a totalistic one whereby individuals surrender their liberty to the sovereign authority. The agreement that will be reached through their deliberation will be a two-stage way. The individual would agree among themselves to form a state where they would enjoy certain basic rights like right to life and property. After this, there will be another part between the individuals and the sovereign authority in which this right will be protected, and this right cannot be infringed upon by the sovereign authority. The reasons they have agreed to leave the state of nature are that their rights will be protected, which was not the case in the state of nature, and the rights are enumerated as the right to life, liberty, and property. As a matter of fact, right to property is highly valued by Locke because, to him, this is more important to life. One's life is more enhanced by one's property. The part that could emerge between the individual and the sovereign authority could make it clear that this right has to be protected, and if they are not protected, the people have the right to overthrow the sovereign authority. Locke's opinion. Locke believed that the sovereign authority should not be highly empowered to do whatever he likes. In view of this, he advocated separation of powers. His own state of government was based on this notion of separation of power. In his final analysis, he deviated from the Hobbesian theory of social contract in the sense that his own sovereign authority does not have that cohesive power entrusted to it. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He completely deviates from his early predecessors who have ruminated on the social contract theory. He does not believe that the state of nature was a chaotic one, neither does he believe that it was a state that people were not rational in their behavior as you have it in Locke. He claims that the state of nature was a serene, peaceful world. He believes in the state of nature, individuals were not egoistic but were cooperative. There was a sort of mutual cooperation. Life flourishes in that state of nature in such a way that people live among themselves without any conflict. However, at this change with the introduction of iron, which brought about civilization, in other words, civilization brought about a change in the situation since there were appropriate lands by individuals that made everyone to care for himself alone. This led to the promotion of self-interest, and those who have appropriated more lands have to protect themselves. Hence, violence was introduced into the state of nature. This brought about a chaotic situation and disorderliness, hence there would have to be a deliberation which would lead to a sort of part or social theory. In this part, that would be entirely, not everybody would give up individual will for the larger general will. The general will unifies all the individual will. It is the sum total of the individual will. It promotes the common interest of everybody, and it supersedes the interest of the individual. Hence, the general will is a cornerstone to Jean-Jacques Rousseau's theory of social contract. In fact, the general will is simply what could be termed Rousseau's legacy that he has bequeathed to political philosophers of subsequent political philosophers. In conclusion, the social contract theory is an important theory since it brings together the interests of all individuals in the state and makes government connected with the individual. It is not a real contract though, but a hypothetical social contract. Dash characterization of the state of nature is not anarchical. A. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. B. John Locke. C. Locke and Russell. D. Locke and Hobbes. C. Locke and Russell. Summary for Studies Section 2. In this Studies Section 2, you have learned that 1. The idea of social contract theory is grounded on the fact that the citizens and the government must have a sort of agreement that binds both together. Moreover, the idea of social contract theory is that there is an obligation on the part of government as well as the citizens to do certain things or provide certain things, and the citizens are under certain obligations to obey political authority. 2. Thomas Hobbes claims that human beings were first of all living in what he calls the state of nature. The state of nature was a state in which individuals behave as they like because there was no law which regulates their behavior. 3. John Locke believes that by nature, human beings are good-natured because they could help each other. However, the nature of state has been structured in a way that there are some laws of nature which makes it impossible for a kind of joint enterprise by all individuals in the state of nature. 4. Jean-Jacques Rousseau claims that the state of nature was a serene, peaceful world. He believes in the state of nature, individuals were not egoistic but were cooperative. There was a sort of mutual cooperation. Life flourishes in that state of nature in such a way that people live among themselves without any conflict. 5. The contract theory of Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau is dealt with, and the differences are noted in their contract theories. Hobbes' characterization of the state of nature is anarchical, while that of Locke and Rousseau is not. The way the contract is agreed upon is different from each other. The three political philosophers agree that the state is based on contract between the rulers and the ruled. This is the end of Studies Section 2. Thanks for listening.